What if I told you that everything you believe about the world might be a carefully constructed lie? As you watch this video, you're living in an invisible prison, a perfectly crafted reality bubble that you can't even see the walls. Every news story you read, social media post you see, and conversation has been filtered to create a false reality that serves someone else's agenda. In 30 minutes, I will expose the 7 most dangerous echo chamber techniques, trapping your mind in false reality bubbles. These aren't just social media algorithms. They're sophisticated psychological warfare tactics that can make you believe anything, support anyone, and act against your interests without ever realizing it. But first, let me tell you about the man who discovered he'd been living in a lie for 20 years. Welcome back to Shadow Psyche, where we expose the daily dark psychology tactics used against you and teach you how to protect yourself. I'm Brian, and over the past 15 years, I've studied how echo chambers aren't just social phenomena. They're weapons of mass psychological destruction used to control entire populations. Today, I will reveal the 7 most devastating echo chamber techniques that create false reality bubbles around your mind. These techniques are so sophisticated that they can make you sure of things that aren't true while making you completely blind to obvious facts right in front of you. By the end of this video, you'll know precisely how to recognize when you're trapped in an echo chamber, understand the psychological mechanisms that make these reality bubbles so powerful, and have concrete tools to break free from false realities that others have constructed around you. But first, let me be clear. This information is for liberation only. We're not teaching you how to trap others in false realities, but how to recognize when and how to break free. The reality prisoner story. Let me tell you about Marcus, a successful engineer who came to me after what he described as waking up from a 20-year dream. Marcus had been wholly convinced that a particular political movement was the greatest threat to civilization for 2 decades. He consumed news, joined groups, donated money, and even damaged relationships with family members who disagreed with him. Then, one day, Marcus accidentally clicked on a video from the other side. Instead of the monsters he expected to see, he found reasonable people making logical arguments with verifiable facts. That single crack in his reality bubble led him to investigate further, and what he discovered horrified him. I realized I'd been living in a completely fabricated reality, he told me. Every source I trusted, every expert I followed, every friend I talked to, they were all part of the same echo chamber. I thought I was well informed, but I was completely brainwashed. The scariest part is how confident I was in my beliefs. I would have bet my life on things that turned out to be completely false. Marcus wasn't stupid or weak. He was the victim of sophisticated echo chamber engineering, a systematic process of reality construction that had trapped him in a false world for decades. The science of reality bubbles. Before diving into the 7 techniques, you must understand what's happening in your brain when trapped in an echo chamber. This isn't just about being exposed to biased information. It's about systematically rewiring your neural pathways to create a completely false perception of reality. When you're in an echo chamber, your brain undergoes what neuroscientists call confirmation bias amplification. Every piece of information that confirms your existing beliefs triggers a dopamine release in your brain's reward system. This creates an addiction-like cycle where you crave information that validates your worldview and feels physical discomfort when confronted with contradictory evidence. The ventromedial prefrontal cortex, which processes reward and validation, becomes hyperactive when you encounter agreeable information. Meanwhile, the anterior cingulate cortex, which usually helps you process conflicting information, becomes suppressed. This rewires your brain to seek confirmation and avoid contradiction. Here's the terrifying part. The longer you stay in an echo chamber, the more your brain's empathy circuits shut down. You lose the ability to understand or even recognize the validity of opposing viewpoints. People who disagree with you stop seeming like reasonable humans with different perspectives. They become enemies, threats, or objects of contempt. This neurological transformation is why echo chambers are so dangerous. They don't just change what you think, they change how you feel, making it nearly impossible to escape even when presented with overwhelming evidence that your reality is false. The algorithmic reality constructor. The first echo chamber technique is the algorithmic reality constructor, using artificial intelligence and machine learning to create personalized false realities for each user. This goes beyond simple content filtering. It's about constructing worldviews tailored to your psychological profile. Here's how it works. Advanced algorithms analyze everything about you: your clicks, your pauses, your emotional responses, your social connections, your purchase history, and even your typing patterns. They build a detailed psychological profile that reveals your fears, desires, biases, and vulnerabilities. Then, they use this profile to construct a reality bubble designed explicitly for you. They don't just show you content you'll agree with. They show you content that will make you more extreme, more engaged, and more dependent on their platform for your understanding of reality. The algorithm learns that you respond strongly to stories about economic inequality, showing you increasingly dramatic examples of wealth disparity. It notices you have anxiety about safety, so it feeds you crime stories that make your neighborhood seem dangerous. It detects that you distrust certain institutions, amplifying content that confirms and escalates that distrust. I worked with a client named Sarah, who discovered that her entire political worldview had been shaped by algorithmic manipulation. She had become convinced that her country was on the verge of collapse based on the constant crisis content she was fed. When she finally looked at actual statistics and diverse news sources, she realized that most of the crises she believed in were exaggerated or fabricated. The algorithmic reality constructor is particularly dangerous because it feels organic. You think you're discovering information naturally, but every piece of content has been carefully selected to push you further into a predetermined reality bubble. Protection strategy. Regularly consume information from sources that disagree with you. Use private browsing modes to search for topics without algorithmic influence. Actively seek out primary sources and original data rather than interpreted content. The social proof manufacturing system. The second technique is the social proof manufacturing system, creating artificial consensus to make minority viewpoints appear to be majority opinions. This technique exploits your brain's natural tendency to determine truth based on other people's beliefs. Social proof manufacturing illuminates that everyone agrees with a particular viewpoint. This might involve using bots to amplify certain messages, paying influencers to promote specific ideas, or coordinating real people to create artificial viral moments that make fringe opinions seem mainstream. The system understands that you're more likely to believe something if you think most people believe it. So, they create fake grassroots movements, manufacture viral trends, and coordinate social media campaigns to make their preferred narratives appear to have overwhelming public support. Here's how sophisticated this has become. They don't just create fake accounts. They create entire fake social ecosystems. Fake influencers with counterfeit followers share fake experiences about fake events designed to make the impression that certain beliefs are normal and widely accepted. I investigated a case where a corporation wanted to change public opinion about a controversial policy. Instead of traditional advertising, they created hundreds of fake social media accounts representing different demographics: young professionals, concerned parents, small business owners, and retirees. Each fake persona shared carefully crafted content that made the corporation's preferred policy seem like common sense, supported by diverse groups of real people. The campaign was so successful that real people began adopting and spreading the manufactured talking points, believing they were expressing widely held views rather than corporate propaganda. The fake social proof became real social proof, creating a self-reinforcing cycle that completely shifted public opinion. Protection strategy. Be suspicious of sudden viral trends or seemingly unanimous opinions. Look for diversity in the sources supporting any viewpoint. Ask yourself, who benefits if I believe this? And what would people who disagree say about this evidence? The emotional amplification engine. The third technique is the emotional amplification engine, the systematic intensification of emotional responses to bypass rational thinking and create addictive engagement with false realities. This technique recognizes that emotions, not logic, drive most human decision-making and belief formation. The emotional amplification engine works by identifying your emotional triggers and then systematically escalating them. If you feel concerned about an issue, they feed you content that transforms concern into anxiety. If you feel mild dislike for a group, they show you content that transforms dislike into hatred. If you feel hope about a cause, they amplify that hope into fanatical devotion. The engine uses emotional layering, building increasingly intense emotional responses through carefully sequenced content exposure. They start with mild emotional triggers that seem reasonable, then gradually escalate the intensity until you're experiencing extreme emotional states that make rational analysis impossible. For example, let's say you have legitimate concerns about economic policy. The emotional amplification engine doesn't address those concerns rationally. Instead, it feeds you increasingly dramatic content. Stories of families destroyed by monetary policies, images of suffering caused by political decisions, and personal testimonies of people whose lives were ruined by the policies you're concerned about. Each content is designed to make you more emotionally invested and less capable of objective analysis. By the time you're deep in the echo chamber, you're not evaluating policies based on evidence. You're responding to emotional triggers that have been systematically amplified to control your thinking. I worked with a man named David, who had become completely consumed by anger about social issues. He spent hours every day consuming content that made him increasingly furious about injustices in the world. The emotional amplification engine had turned his legitimate social concerns into a destructive obsession that was damaging his mental health and relationships. When David finally stepped back and analyzed his content, he realized that none of it was helping him understand or address the issues he cared about. It was just making him angrier and more extreme, while keeping him engaged with platforms that profited from his emotional distress. Protection strategy. Monitor your emotional responses to information. When you notice strong emotional reactions, pause and ask, is this emotion appropriate to the content, or am I being manipulated? Take breaks from emotionally charged content and seek a calm, rational analysis of issues you care about. The authority network illusion. The fourth technique is the authority network illusion. the creation of interconnected webs of fake expertise that make false information appear credible and well-supported. This goes beyond creating individual fake experts. It's about constructing entire ecosystems of false authority. The authority network illusion works by creating what appears to be independent validation from multiple credible sources. They establish fake think tanks, create pseudo-academic journals, hire actors to play experts, and coordinate messaging across various platforms to create the appearance of scholarly consensus. Here's how sophisticated this network becomes. They don't just create fake experts. They create fake institutions that employ fake experts who cite counterfeit studies published in fake journals and referenced by fake news outlets. Each network component appears to validate the others, creating a circular system of false credibility. The network understands that you're more likely to believe information if it comes from multiple independent sources. So they create the illusion of independence while coordinating all messaging from a central source. You think you're seeing confirmation from diverse experts, but you're seeing the same message repeated through a manufactured authority network. I investigated a case where a pharmaceutical company wanted to discredit research that threatened their profits. Instead of directly attacking the research, they created a network of fake medical authorities. They established a fake medical institute with an impressive website, hired retired doctors to serve as phony board members, and produced professional-looking studies contradicting legitimate research. The fake institute published fake journals, held fake conferences, and even created phony patient advocacy groups that supported their position. To casual observers, there appeared to be significant medical disagreement about the research, when, in reality, it was a coordinated campaign by a single corporation. Protection strategy. Always trace authority claims back to their sources. Ask, who funds this expert? What are their actual qualifications? Do truly independent experts in this field agree? Be especially suspicious when multiple sources make identical arguments using similar language. The reality gradient manipulation. The fifth technique is reality gradient manipulation, the gradual shifting of what seems normal, acceptable, or accurate through carefully controlled exposure to increasingly extreme content. This technique works by slowly moving the boundaries of your reality without you noticing the change. Reality gradient manipulation exploits your brain's adaptation mechanisms. What seems shocking today becomes normal tomorrow if you're exposed to it gradually. The technique starts with content slightly outside your beliefs, then gradually introduces more extreme ideas until you've been moved far from your original position. The manipulation works through what I call normalization cascades. They start by presenting ideas that are just barely acceptable to you. Once you've accepted those ideas, they introduce slightly more extreme versions. Each step seems reasonable compared to the previous one, but the cumulative effect completely transforms your worldview. For example, they might start by showing you content about legitimate concerns regarding media bias. Once you accept that media can be biased, they show you content suggesting that most media is deliberately deceptive. Then, they introduce the idea that media deception is coordinated. Eventually, they have you believing in vast conspiracy theories you would have rejected entirely when you started. I worked with a woman named Lisa, who had gradually moved from reasonable skepticism about the government to believing in elaborate conspiracy theories. The process took 2 years and happened so gradually that she never noticed how extreme her beliefs had become. Each new belief seemed like a logical extension of what she already accepted. When Lisa finally realized what had happened, she was shocked at how far she'd traveled from her original position. The reality gradient manipulation had been so subtle that she thought she was becoming more informed when being systematically radicalized. Protection strategy. Regularly examine how your beliefs have changed over time. Record your positions on important issues and ask yourself, am I changing my mind based on new evidence? Or am I being gradually moved by repeated exposure to increasingly extreme content? The Isolation Acceleration Protocol. The sixth technique is the Isolation Acceleration Protocol, systematically separating individuals from diverse perspectives and alternative information sources. This technique recognizes that echo chambers become more powerful when people are cut off from reality checks and outside perspectives. The Isolation Acceleration Protocol makes outside perspectives seem dangerous, unreliable, or morally compromised. They teach you that people who disagree with you are not just wrong, they're evil, stupid, or brainwashed. This makes you less likely to engage with alternative viewpoints and more dependent on your echo chamber for information and social connection. The protocol uses several isolation strategies: source discrediting, making alternative information sources seem unreliable; social pressure, making disagreement seem socially unacceptable; moral positioning, making your beliefs seem morally superior; and threat amplification, making outside perspectives seem dangerous to engage with. They also create intellectual antibodies, pre-programmed responses to common counter-arguments that allow you to dismiss opposing evidence without actually considering it. When someone presents facts that contradict your beliefs, you've been trained to respond with phrases like, "That's been debunked," "Consider the source," or "You're just repeating propaganda." I worked with Robert, who had become isolated within a political echo chamber. He had been taught that anyone who disagreed with his political views was either a paid shill, a brainwashed victim, or a malicious actor. This made it impossible for him to converse genuinely with family members, friends, or colleagues with different views. The isolation was so complete that Robert lost the ability even to understand why reasonable people might disagree with him. He couldn't engage with opposing arguments because he'd been programmed to see them as attacks rather than alternative perspectives worthy of consideration. Protection strategy. Maintain relationships with people who hold different views. Regularly engage with high-quality sources that disagree with your positions. Practice steel manning, trying to understand and articulate opposing arguments in their strongest form before critiquing them. The reality replacement matrix. The seventh and final technique is the reality replacement matrix, the complete substitution of objective reality with a manufactured alternative reality that serves specific agendas. This is the most advanced form of echo chamber engineering, where worldviews are constructed and maintained through coordinated information control. The reality replacement matrix controls not just individual pieces of information, but the entire framework through which you understand the world. This includes managing the language used to discuss topics, the categories used to think about issues, and even the basic assumptions about reality. Within the matrix, everything appears internally consistent. The fake experts cite fake studies referencing fake data, supporting fake conclusions reported by fake news outlets and discussed by counterfeit grassroots movements. People living within these reality matrices can have rational discussions and logical debates, but they're all based on false premises. The matrix creates reality anchors, seemingly objective facts that serve as foundation points for the false reality. These anchors are often partially true or based on real events, but they're interpreted through a framework that leads to false conclusions. For example, a reality replacement matrix might acknowledge economic inequality, actual anchor point, but construct a false narrative about its causes, effects, and solutions. People within the matrix can have sophisticated discussions about economic policy, but they're all based on manufactured premises that serve specific political or financial interests. I've studied communities that reality replacement matrices have completely captured. Members of these communities are knowledgeable, well-educated people who can articulate complex arguments and cite extensive evidence for their beliefs. However, their intelligence and education are being applied within a false framework, leading them to conclusions serving their manipulators' agendas. Protection strategy. Regularly question your fundamental assumptions about how the world works. Seek out primary sources and original data rather than interpreted information. Engage with people from different cultural, political, and intellectual backgrounds to test whether others share your assumptions about reality. Breaking free from false reality bubbles. If you recognize these techniques in your information consumption, the first step is acknowledging that you might be trapped in a false reality bubble. This isn't about admitting you're stupid or weak. It's about recognizing that you're human and that humans are vulnerable to sophisticated psychological manipulation. Breaking free from echo chambers requires reality testing protocols. Start by deliberately exposing yourself to high-quality sources that disagree with your current beliefs. Not to change your mind automatically, but to test whether your beliefs can withstand honest scrutiny. Practice intellectual humility, recognizing that you might be wrong about important things. This doesn't mean becoming wishy-washy or abandoning all convictions. It means holding your beliefs with appropriate confidence based on the quality of evidence supporting them. Develop diverse information sources that don't all share the same biases or agendas. Seek out primary sources, original research, and direct evidence rather than interpreted or filtered information. Learn to distinguish between facts and interpretations of facts. Most importantly, maintain relationships with people who think differently from you. Not to argue with or convert them, but to understand how reasonable people can look at the same evidence and reach different conclusions. Your reality is under attack, and the weapons used against you are more sophisticated than ever. The 7 techniques I've shared today are being deployed against millions of people, creating false reality bubbles that serve the interests of those who would control your mind. In the comments below, tell me, have you recognized any of these echo chamber techniques in your information consumption? Don't share specifics that might identify sources, but let us know you're not alone in questioning the reality bubbles around you. If this video helped you recognize how your reality might be under construction by others, share it with someone you care about. Knowledge is our best defense against those who trap us in false realities. Next week, we're diving into Document Everything, Protecting Yourself from Memory Manipulation. Essential skills for maintaining your grip on truth when others are trying to rewrite your history. Remember, your reality belongs to you. Your mind is your territory. And no one has the right to construct false worlds around you without your knowledge or consent. Hit subscribe and the bell icon to join our community of reality defenders. Like this video if it helped you see through the illusions. I'll see you next week, where we'll continue building your defenses against psychological manipulation. Stay questioning, stay diverse in your information sources, and remember, in the battle for your mind, your ability to see through false realities is your greatest weapon.